Okay, so, the politics aside, cluster bombs are a fucking nightmare. I've seen them. I've seen them firsthand in Iraq in the invasion of 2003. We used them against population centers. Nasiriyah, that's the one that I was directly involved with. We shot the cluster bombs over Nasiriyah for whatever reason. I don't know. First to go, last to know. I never knew why we used cluster bombs against the population of Nasiriyah, but we did. We shot cluster bombs over it. And us coming in 3 weeks after the fact, I mean, it was a fucking nightmare for those people. Again, the way it works is the artillery shell flies over the city, flies over the area, whether it's population zone, whatever. It drops these little fucking bomblets about like that big with a little white streamer out the back, and the idea is those bombs, as they're falling, arm and detonate on impact, but they don't always detonate. That's the fucking problem. So now you have an entire area that is just saturated with fucking these little bombs that are like mines. You step on them, they blow your goddamn leg off. And they are just an absolute nightmare. Not only do you have the initial shock when they land, I mean, imagine you're just hanging out in your house and then, all of a sudden it's like, it just destroys entire blocks of neighborhoods and there's nothing you can do about it. Then you got the aftermath. You're just walking, going about your day, and you step on one of these things and it blows your fucking foot off. And I've seen it. So, like, I remember we were out on patrol in Nasiriyah, and you heard the pop of these things going off all the time, like about at least 2, 3 times, 4 times a day. You'd hear a little pop in the different distance, and you knew that was, a cluster. You knew that was one of the little bomblets. So we're out on patrol, and we heard the pop, and it was just right around the corner. So we go to respond, and it was the courtyard of this family, and the husband of this family. Just getting my center. So the husband of his family stepped on these bombs, blew his foot wide open. They wore open-toed sandals. They didn't wear like shoes or sneakers for the most part. They just wore like sandals. So the bomb like blew his fucking foot open like that, right? Like split right in between the second and third toe. Just like split it open. And by the time we got there, his family was already out there and they're trying to, render whatever aid they could. We just bombed the shit out of them. It's not like they had a hospital they could go to, didn't have, call an ambulance. They just had to deal with it whatever, any way they could. And we tried to help any way we could. But, we didn't have proper medical stuff ourselves. I did a whole video on how rinky-dink our medical supplies were. I remember pulling out my first aid kit. And the only thing I had in there was a field dressing and some fucking Band-Aids and a tampon. That's all I had. It was, we couldn't render any kind of aid. We did not have a corpsman with us, on that patrol because we were just getting at the tail end of everybody getting dysentery. So we were short-staffed, and we're watching this guy. We want to help him. We can't. It was like a big family, and they're all looking at us, and they're, begging us to help them. There's nothing we could do. And then I remember the wife came out. She had her burqa. They had the black burqas that only their face would show if they were married. I remember the wife came out. And She was standing like 5 feet over here. She's standing like 5 feet over there, and she sees her husband, his foot fucking split open like a pinata, and she just loses her fucking mind. And she just starts screaming. She's probably like, 5'4", very pretty, little bitty thing, probably. Probably like 120 pounds. I remember she just started screaming. Just screaming. She rips her fucking work off. And she just starts pulling her black hair out of her head, just into chunks. Like to a point to where, like, I see bloody scalp. She's just pulling chunks of her hair out. And, she just had it. She just had it with this shit, And that was like the first moment that I kind of realized that what we were doing was fucked up, right? Like, we dropped these bombs on these people, like this population center, for what? I mean, what the fuck was in that city that we needed to carpet bomb them with little bomblets like that big that turned into landmines? The whole fucking town turned into a landmine because of what we did, minefield because of what we did. It's one of those moments that sticks with you forever. And you hear our administration talk about sending, more of these weapons over to Ukraine to use on, people. It's like, what? Why? What the fuck are we doing? There's a reason we stopped using them. like, Jesus Christ. You're going to unleash that nightmare on another group of people. For what? Like, what are we getting out of all this? I remember, that same, I think it was like a week or two later, we sat down with a local doctor. It was, I don't know if you can quite grasp, like, the desperation of a town of a couple 100,000 people that now don't have food, water, they don't have, toilet facilities. There was this desperation. And, we were trying to help them any way we could, even though we just blew the fucking hell out of them. And there was a local doctor who was kind of a bigwig, and we met with him to see what we could do to help him out. And he said, crutches, I need crutches. And I remember our lieutenant was with us, and he asked us, why do you need crutches? He was like, well, because those bombs keep blowing the legs off our, people and our children. So it's like, and that's what something like a cluster bomb does. It's not a weapon that's, it's not a surgical weapon. It's not something that you're firing at a specific target. It's going to destroy everything around that target, and it's going to be a nightmare for the survivors. And that's what you're unleashing with fucking cluster bombs. So, I don't give a fuck about Ukraine. I don't give a fuck about Russia. But, I refuse, to be okay with sending cluster bombs to Ukraine. I've seen them. They're horrible. They're a nightmare. There's nothing good that can come out of giving cluster bombs to Ukraine. I don't fucking care. I don't do it. So I'm gonna wrap